Welcome to the Bright Insight podcast. This is a weekly show provided by Brightside Security Lab. We're talking about updates on security regulations, requirements, and perspectives on the current cybersecurity developments. Security is becoming more widely used and important at home, work, school, or in your personal life. Think about GDPR and the Cybersecurity Act. Cybersecurity is a shared responsibility. The more systems we secure, the more secure we all are. Thank you for listening to Bright Insight. Hi everyone, and welcome to the 5th episode of Bright Insight podcast. Welcome back, Kaifan.
Hi, welcome back, Dianta. Great work with all the episodes.
Thanks. And I'm excited to talk about common criteria today. So can you introduce common criteria? What is it?
And how to use it and everything.
How to use it?
Yeah, it's a great question. Of course, it's much too big a topic for only 10 minutes. What I would like to do, and I think it's important, is that I can introduce some parts of common criteria or some terminology in common criteria that is widely used in the security or security evaluation world, so that people will understand better when we are talking about, in future episodes, other security requirements or methodology like CESIP. And because common criteria is what I see a basic methodology for security, IC product security evaluation and certification. So that's what I want to talk about today. Very briefly, of course. I'll also introduce some resources that our readers or listeners can go find out more information on common criteria. So in short, common criteria is a global standard. Now I think it's supported by 31 countries, and they are in a mutual recognition agreement called CCRA, the recognition agreement. And at this moment, the mutual recognition is at EL2 level. So when I started with common criteria, it was EL4. Now it's becoming EL2, and they are due to a lot of different reasons. And that's basically showing the trust between nations, but there will be another topic. Common criteria was using security methodology from different countries and continents like America and Canada and Europe. They combined all these different security evaluation methodologies together to form the common criteria. And a lot more information can be found on the official website of Common Criteria. It's commoncriteriaportal.org. And there basically you can find what is common criteria. You can find common criteria methodology itself to be downloaded freely. Also, you can find the protection profile that is available, and you can find the certified products. And of course, the licensed lab, the accredited lab that can perform common criteria evaluation under which or different country or scheme, that's also can be found there. So if you have needs for common criteria evaluation, feel free to look into that website. And of course, there's always some choice that you have to make, or some information you will need to make the good selection. Then feel free to talk about them with Brightside, with us, and we'll make sure that you can make the right choice. Sometimes you have to make even choices if common criteria is really necessary, or there are different things to do, because common criteria is the basic methodology. It's most elaborate, meaning that it takes most time and most money to achieve. So that's a short introduction on common criteria, but I already mentioned some terms that you might not know about.
For example, protection profile.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
and security target, and that's the things that I want to talk about. But first, let's start with something very interesting or very funny. Do you know what is TOE?
No, I don't know.
So it's something grows on your foot. So TOE, we make fun. It's the same spelling as the toes that you have, but TOE is a short for target of evaluation. So that's very important in any security evaluation. You have to know what you are going to evaluate. So that's your target, and target of evaluation is not just product itself, but it contains the possible software components, hardware components, and very important, your guidance of the product. If you don't know how to securely use your product, then it's not a fully functioning or secure product, because there are always manuals for when you're using something. If you do not do the right setting, then it's not promising. It does not promise the same security that is evaluated or certified. So that's what we call TOE. And that leads to the security target. What a security target described is your TOE and your scope of evaluation. So it has a standard chapters or standard content that you have to put into a security target. We can have another episode on the full different chapters of security target, but basically it defines what you are going to evaluate. So it's very important. If you write it well, you have the right scope of your product, you have the right security functionality to choose from, the right level you have to you want to do the evaluation, then you can have a good estimate on the cost and the time that is needed for the evaluation. And we are very proud of doing that pretty well. Our CEO, Dirk Yang, he was the one who wrote the security, we call it ASE part. That's the security target evaluation part. So we have deep knowledge on security targets, and what we do a lot is to set the scope for our customer, give them a strategy on how to scope their product.
So this TOE is not only applied in common criteria, but basically for all security evaluations.
Basically, it's known for all security, or it's needed for any security evaluation, because you need to know what you are going to do.
Yeah.
So without going into too much detail, that's basically what security target is. It's about the toe and what kind of environment is working. What is the problem definition of a certain certain product? So what is the environment is using? Is there any policies that you have to pay attention to? And then it leads to objectives for this product, and leads to the security function it has and it provides. And that's the basic what we are going to do or look at during the whole evaluation, containing all the design part, life cycle part, and everything. So that's the scoping of a product evaluation. And protection profile is something that is not just a product, but a type of product. Because sometimes in a certain industry, you want to have a common level of security. So let's take the industry that use CC the most. That's the IC card, smart card industry. It's about the smart card that you use in your credit card or on your ID identification document. And there, all the different developers of the product, they say we don't want to compete really on the security, but we want to have a common standard for the security. So together they make a protection profile, and the protection profile has basically the same content as the security target, without the last part on how the TOE provides the function security functionality. but it sets the use case for a certain type of TOE or certain type of product in this environment, and what is the basic security function you need to have, and what is the assurance level you need to get, so that when one developer is certifying their product, it will have the same basis as the other developer and their product. And of course, important thing about protection profile is does not depend on how you implement this security function. As long as you find a way to satisfy or to implement this security function and it's checked by the lab, it's good enough for use on a credit card or identification, let's say. So that's the short about protection profile. But of course, in the future, we can do a whole episode on ST and PP. Mm-hmm. And then the last thing I want to introduce today is the EAL. So we hear a lot about EALs, and EAL stands for the Evaluation Assurance Level. And assurance level is the concept of, as we said, there's no perfect security. And what we say in security or in common criteria, we call it assurance. How much assurance the product provides to the user in security. So there are 7 levels in common criteria, level 1 to level 7. And depending on the product type, different level are used. For smart card, is normally EL4 or above, but for telecommunication device, is normally EL2 or 3. So there can be another 2 episodes on how the EALs and the components, but the most important thing is that this common criteria chooses these assurance classes or levels by combining different components with a certain assurance. So if you look at common criteria, book 3 or the SEM, the evaluation methodology, you can see that for different assurance level, what kind of class of the assurance requirements you have to use, and they will tell you what is the level of security you need to have or implement or to claim. So that's basically the idea behind, but also the most used terms that you will hear a lot in the future episodes or when it's related to security evaluations.
Yeah. So Brightside already has more than 35 years of experience in security evaluations and also a lot of experience in common criteria. And that's why Brightside is also able to perform evaluations up to the highest level of common criteria, which is EAL7?
If you want to make it even better, there's a way to do it like EAL7 plus. Eventually, the EAL levels are used a bit for marketing reasons. When my competitor is doing EAL4, then I want to do EAL5 to make it look better on the commercial or on the advertisement. But there are different ways to choose the level, because by choosing levels you will have to consider a lot of things like the availability of your source code or your whole life cycle, if we need to do site audits or not. So that will that's another episode on itself, but it's just very a lot of knowledge and experience putting to that to make the right choice. But if you are in an industry that there is already a protection profile that everyone recognize, then it's easier. Then that's the thing you have to satisfy.
Well, thank you for this introduction into common criteria today. And since you mentioned a lot of different topics that are useful for the next episodes, I will invite you to talk about it. So thank you.
Sure, no problem. Thank you. If you guys, the audience, have any questions on this topic, please feel free to let us know.
Yeah, let us know on LinkedIn or on the website, and we will use your feedback for the next episodes. Thank you for listening to Bright Insight. In the next episodes, we will cover different topics, such as the EU Cybersecurity Act, the business case of security evaluations, common criteria, SASIP, IoT, and software-based security. Stay tuned and subscribe on brightside.com.